Bonjour.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Breaking Bread, the Birmingham Food podcasted, presented by food obsessed mates Liam and Carl. I'm Liam, hello, and today's guest, you've probably seen him a lot on telly lately, and he is the winner of Masterchef 2019, Stuart.
Hello
how you
everybody.
Doing? How's things, mate?
Yeah, all good. Just, chilling, normal stuff.
Chilling. This fame hasn't gone to your head.
No, definitely not. I think it's important to just stay doing what you do. That's it.
You struck me as kind of down to earth in the whole kind of show. Do you think especially I think Marcus Wareing seemed to he just seemed to like you from the very first episode?
Yeah, I think the thing is I kind of all the way through reflected what my style is, and it was about kind of showcasing Birmingham food, about staying loyal to what I enjoy, and that's really what I tried to show. And with dishes like the faggots, which is kind of known for our being, kind of in our area and stuff like that, and using Banks's bitter.
Yeah. We'll get back obviously to MasterChef, but I want to go to the beginning. So, have you always loved food? I know it's a very cliche question to ask a chef, but has it always been something you wanted to do? Obviously, you trained at Houso in college.
Yeah, I always wanted to cook. I mean, watching programs like Ready Steady Cook and watching Gordon, Gary Rhodes. I wouldn't say Ainsley Harriott, but yeah, Ainsley Harriott.
I'll tell you what, though, do you know how many chefs come here and say to us that they're chefs now because of Ready Steady Cook? Everyone jokes about it and slags it off and stuff. But there's so many chefs now who love that. I think it goes back to the kind of wild element. You just get a plastic bag full of ingredients and see what you can do with that.
Yeah, it just sounds like a Saturday night at the moment for us, to be honest. But no, it's definitely something that sparked me interest, kind of really, because school was crap and I hated school and spent very little time there, really. Just end up either wagging lessons or just wagging the whole day. And then when I kind of found food and saw what I could do, that really enticed my interest.
You're a local lad from Birmingham, yeah?
Yeah, so I live just outside of Bearwood. I've always lived within a mile of where I live now, and I love it. I love where I live. I've worked other places. I've worked in Leamington Spa, I've worked over at Brockencote Hall, but I've never moved house. I've always commuted wherever I work because I refuse to move.
Bearwood's one of them places people look down a bit upon, but it's got such a great community, hasn't it?
Tell me who looks down upon it, and I'll go around there. No, it's a great place to live, and it's got that village feel, even though it is just a little kind of town centre. But it's kind of getting better and better, and I think people are starting to understand what food is all about. It's not just for the sake of eating anymore. It's about the pleasure of the experience as well.
So did you finish school and went straight to Houso in college, or?
Yeah, so I finished school, went to Houso in college, and that really opened my eyes to what the industry was and gave me that passion and that spark of kind of seeing something different, because school was so dead for me that really took my interest from day one, and that was something that I really needed.
What do you think got you into it? Was it the creativity of it, you could express yourself? Because school's so rigid and
I think it was just the thought of playing with sharp knives, to be honest.
So how did you get on in college? Were you really good from day one, talented, or did you?
Yeah, I mean, some of the people I went to college with, i.e. Biddle, would say that he carried me through college, but no. I mean, there's two types of people in the world, isn't there? There's the people that are naturally talented and the people that are talented through hard work, and I'm definitely the latter one. It's a case of you just kind of find what you want to do and you put as much hard work into it as you can until you start to get better. And that really was the case with me.
So would you say you were like a standout pupil or average?
I wouldn't.
His friend's with us in the studio and he's nodding his head off like definitely.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say I was a standout pupil. I mean, it was something that I really kind of took an interest in. So then that made me stand out, I guess, from just, going home and looking at chefs and looking at what they were doing, dishes, and just researching recipes, cooking at home, things like that. And that really started to create a divide between me and the other people that were in my class, and the fact that half of them dropped out before we even got through half the year. So
Did you cook much at home?
Yeah, I used to cook a lot at home. I mean, I have mentioned it a few times. I won't mention it in too much detail again, but my mum wasn't the greatest of cooks.
There's only so many times you'll get away with saying that about your mum, so.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure she won't listen to this one. She doesn't know what the internet is yet, so it should be all right.
Well, I hope she doesn't, because she's going to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, at least I won't be able to do it again if she does.
Once you finished at Hales Owen, where did you go straight to Simpsons or?
No, so I finished. It was quite a long journey to get to Simpsons even before that, and a few kind of bumps on the way. So Hales Owen College was great. That kind of set me up for the industry, and gave me the right kind of ideas and stuff of what I was going to be going into. I did a competition at college, and the head chef from Jamie's Italian at the time, Gareth Howard, came in and judged the competition, and he said, kind of based on what he saw, even though I didn't win the college competition, I'm not bitter about it, but
still remembers it. Yeah. How many years later?
I mean, I should have won. But
what did you cook? Do you remember what you cooked?
I can, but I'm not telling you. No, he came in and he kind of said, you're the one who has the most passion, and if you want a job's available, come over, have a chat to me. And I was like, wow, I'm going to work for Jamie Oliver, and it's going to be amazing. I walked in, did my trial, and they were like, we've got 400 booked for lunch. And I went, a little bit of poo come out, and then
baptism of fire.
Yeah.
So how did that first one go then?
Yeah, just because I've always, from going to Hales Owen College, I've always loved food, and I've loved cooking, and I've loved how diverse it is, that you can walk into so many different styles of restaurants and the basic skills still apply, and walking into a restaurant where you do 400 covers, the food might not be as intricate.
Yeah.
But at that time, I didn't know what intricacy in food was anyway. So it was an eye-opener just to go there and just to experience it.
Did you stay there for long, or?
I was there for about 6 months, and I had a chat with Gareth, who his background was mostly at the Herdwick with Stephen Terry. So he kind of knew what Michelin and Rosette kind of cooking was, and he said, I think you've got more of a passion to go down those lines, really. And so then I applied for a job with Steve Love, who was at Love's at the time on Canal Square, and he got 3 rosettes, and I walked in and it was just like, tweezers on everything, and like little herbs and little garnishes, and it just captured my kind of my interest. And I looked around and looked in the fridges, and I was like, wow, like I've never seen half of this stuff before. There's definitely a few things that I saw that I wouldn't repeat. No, but it was an eye opener to what potentially it never had a Michelin star, but it could have potentially if it had been open a little bit longer. But it did have 3 rosettes, and it was good to just get that experience, and also had Ed working there, who's a great chef. How
was the the adjustment going from somewhere like Jamie's Italian to somewhere that like a Rosette restaurant?
Oh, it was carnage, mate. Like I remember.
Did you adapt fast, or was it struggle? Or
well, I was 6 months out of college. College teaches you all these things, teaches you how to use a knife. It doesn't teach you how to work 90 hours a week. I remember coming up with this like cunning plan, which I thought was a great idea at the time, which was to set off 2 hours before I needed to be at work, so that I could park in the car park and have another hour in the car to try and avoid the traffic. Which at the time I thought was great, but then looking back on it, now I can barely get up half an hour before I got to be in work. But
you're young, you're naive, what can you do?
Yeah, exactly.
So did you stay there for long, or?
So I was there for about 6 months, and I'm quite honest about it. I think in this industry you have to be honest, and you have to be honest with yourself when you aren't coping with something. And it was a real difficult time for me because I was 19 years old. I was working 90 hours a week in a kitchen where there was just 3 of us. One of them was the owner, so he wasn't going to do his own washing up. So had to run 2 sections in essence and do the pot wash as well, whilst doing 90 covers.
So did you eventually walked away, or?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I kind of said to him one day, like, I'm not coping, and his answer was, well, you just have to get on with it. And so I decided I'll grab my knives, I'll go. And it's not the best decision I've ever made. I wish that no one would ever do that to me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to be honest with your own kind of feelings. And if you're not feeling it, and if you're not coping, it's better to walk away from a situation you can't handle than to try and suffer it.
Was there any part of you that thought maybe I'm going to go and do something else and step away from chefing altogether, or?
I mean, I don't like to speak badly of other people, but I think it definitely still is a driving motivation to this day that when I did walk out and when I did turn my phone on the next day, of course I was expecting abuse. I'll be honest, if someone did that to me now, I'd give them a load of abuse.
Yeah.
But Steve had texted me and said, well done, you're going to be flipping burgers for the rest of your life.
No
And
way.
that was something that to this day still spurs me on, and it will spur me on forever to kind of defeat that kind of thought that I'm going to just be stuck in a dead end, because I'm not.
No. So would you say that sort of ignited your ambition to prove him wrong almost?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that have ignited my my sense to achieve, because one, being a Brummie, people sometimes look upon us as if we're not like second grade citizens, and we're not, and that's something that drives my ambition. It's people that doubt you drives your ambition, and just to provide for your family and to be the best at whatever you can be, and that's what I've always tried to do.
So where did you move to from there? Like, were you off for a while, or did you take a break and then try and dip back into it? Or
kind of like I say, I grew up in a working class family, and I can't afford to go to my dad and say, oh, I've lost my job, so I just had to quickly try and cover it over and find another job as quickly as I could. And from there, I then went to Brockencote Hall in Worcester, in which I did. I started as a commie. It's a bigger brigade kind of, and that gave me that security, that feeling of that there's more people here than just me that's liable for the bollocking, because at Love's I was always the one that got the bollocking, because above me was just the sous chef and the owner, so there's no one else in
no
the
one
firing
else
line.
taking the black.
Yeah, exactly. So then I went there, and it was a lot easier. It was a lot easier to transition into this like fine dining kind of chef, I guess.
Brilliant. How long were you there for?
So I was at Brockencote for 2 years. So that was at the time when Adam Brown was there. So Adam Brown was big into like foraging and into using, real great produce, which is something I hadn't experienced before. Like, I hadn't grew up eating amazing produce, so seeing fresh scallops come through the door every day, fresh razor clams, lobsters, crabs, turbot that was 10 kilos in size, this is like proper top-end cooking. And that was something that really, again, opened my eyes to what cooking really was.
And did you move up the ranks there at all, or did you stay at the same level?
Yeah, so I started off as a commie, then moved up the ranks to senior chef de partie, to the point where I was kind of running most sections, bar the meat and fish, which was always done by a sous chef, pastry included. As part of the kitchen, you had to know the pastry as well. There was no pastry chef, it was just a CDP on every section.
That's quite a big move in 2 years as well, so you must have had a natural talent straight from the off, really.
I think it's always a case of that, because I'm aware, and I've always been aware, that I'm not naturally talented at it. I'm the one that's willing to work the hardest.
You're there, you put in the hour, you're there before everyone else, there after everyone else.
Yeah, not always before. I mean, definitely, the one that tries to just battle it out to the end. And almost at some points in my career, especially when I was younger, I was too stubborn to ask for help. I would just try and get on with it. And then, as I've got older, I've realised it's a team game. It's not a one one player game.
Yeah. What were the hours like there? Were you still doing 90 hours?
No, I think realistically the hours were about 65, 70 at the most. During the summer it can be a bit of a wedding venue, so we would get Saturday nights off sometimes. So actually it was a bit of a jolly sometimes, and it was great.
Oh, right. Nice. So where did you go next? So why did you leave there?
So I left there because for probably the second year that I was there, Brockencote was highly tipped to get a star. And I was like, this is something I really want to do. I want to work in a Michelin star restaurant. So I stuck it out for the second year. And because I thought, it's not going to hurt, and I'm getting great kind of training off these guys, these chefs that work there. Because at the time when I started, Adam Reed was there as well from the French. So there's been some great chefs pass through there, and also Simon Hay, who's the exec chef of the whole group. He's a brilliant chef. Like, he was sous chef at Le Manoir back in the day when he was 25. So there's a great potential for people to learn in that kind of environment. And so then when we didn't get a Michelin star, I thought, well, that's something I really want to learn. I really want to go. And I looked around in Birmingham, and people always talk about Luke at Simpsons, Luke Tippin, as being the kind of gentleman chef and being someone who really nurtures talent. So I just kind of rang up on the off chance and said, could I speak to Luke Tippin? And said, he's out at the moment. He's gone home for the afternoon because he's an absolute ledge. And what he does, he goes home in the afternoon, feeds the family, comes back to work.
Oh, wow.
But when he did get back, he actually emailed me and said, if you want to come over tomorrow and we'll have a chat. So I went over the next day, kind of explained my intentions. He had already spoke to Steve Love about me. And, of course, like anyone would if you walked out of a job, he had said, don't touch him, blah, blah, blah. But Luke, the kind of gentleman he is, he said, no, I see something in this guy and I'll get him in, give him a go. And obviously I've not lived like an angel my whole life. Like, we did get in a bit of trouble when we were kids and teenagers and whatever, and that kind of follows you, doesn't it? But then I kind of accepted this job at Simpsons and went down from being a senior chef de partie at Brockencote to being a commie at Simpsons, which I think at the time, I didn't even second think it. I just thought, I want to be in this place. I'll take whatever job they give me. Even if they give me a pot wash job, I would have probably took it, because I wanted the training from this guy, from Luke Tippin. I wanted him to teach me what he knows.
I hear quite a few chefs talk about Luke's training. What makes it so special? Like, everyone loves working for Luke.
I think it's just because he's so kind of kind, but at the same time he gives you that almost like a dad. He'll nurture you and he'll get you to do what you're meant to be doing, but he'll do it with tough love.
Yeah.
Which is important in this industry. You need to be told when you fucked up, but at the same time, you don't need, people don't need to go over the top. The days are gone where you can beat someone for fucking someone up. It's not cool anymore.
Yeah, definitely. Horror stories from back in the day. Yeah. I mean, I watched Boiling Point again the other day. From back in the day with Ramsay and that. And he's slapping chefs on the back of the head, calling people frogs, and you're like, this is just.
I'm lucky that I've never experienced that with any chefs that I've worked with. To be honest, I think that whole stigma of the industry has gone, and all for the better. I
think with chefs like Luke, I think you don't want to let them down when they're so good to you. I think that's as much encouragement to work hard as it is the fear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's definitely such a massive feeling of, this guy has given me an opportunity to prove myself, so I have to. And I was quite fortunate because he did see that in me. He did see the passion in me that within 4 weeks of starting there as a commie, I then got promoted to a chef de partie.
Do you think that might have been a test? He might have thought, I'll offer him the job as a commie, and if he takes it, then he's got something about him. Or
yeah, I think it's a wise move, bringing someone in as a commie. If they don't fulfil the role that you want them to do, you've lost nothing. You can keep them.
But there's a lot of people who think, well, I'm not a commie. I've already worked up from a commie. I'm not going back there as a commie, and that's a test in itself to see if you'd still come on.
Yeah, I think there probably is, but at the same time, if you want the right training and if you want to be in the right places, you have to make the sacrifices.
I think Simpsons is one of them legendary restaurants as well. You know, everyone knows Simpsons. It was like, I'm not sure, but it was one of the first Michelin stars around, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so, because Simpsons had already got a Michelin star, but it moved to Birmingham at the same year that Jessica's was awarded a star as well.
I couldn't remember. I knew it was something like, because it used to be in Kenilworth and then they moved.
Yeah. The thing is with Simpsons, it's less of a restaurant to chefs. It's more of an institution. It's where you go for grounding and to better your skills and better your knowledge, really. And if you want to kind of progress and you don't want to move away from Birmingham, it's the perfect place to go.
Yeah. I mean, it oozes class even as a customer. Like, it's an unbelievable place, and the food's next level. Like, it's brilliant. But it's got such a talented kind of brigade there as well. Was it the same when you were there as well?
Yeah, there was some great chefs when I started there. You know, there still is. Like, Leo was there when I started.
It's obviously a past Masterchef Professionals. I think he gets final or semi-final.
I'm not sure where he got to
he got
honest.
somewhere. He was good, I know that.
Yeah, I remember giving him quite a bit of banter at the time, which I regretted when I went on there myself, because I thought, if I don't do better than Leo now, I'm going to get a load of stick. But no, you know, great guy, obviously Luke. Matt Chill was there as well. Matt Chill was there as head chef. There was Georgina, who was sous chef. She'd been there for I think about 8 years when I started. So most of the senior team had already been there for quite a long time.
That speaks for itself, really.
Yeah, in terms of staff retention, you know, you look at Leo, he's done 10 years now, and Ben, the sous chef, who's under Leo, has done 13 years, I think, you know.
Yeah, incredible.
So it was definitely a bit weird walking in and kind of, but I was quite fortunate at the time of starting that all the lower kind of ranked people did a whole switch. So there was a whole brand new team in terms of chef de parties and commis, and it allowed me to really kind of prove myself and grow into a role there.
So working in a Michelin star kitchen, was that a big jump in sort of what you were expected to do and the knowledge you expected to have, and just in the whole experience, was it instantly noticeable to you, like, shit, this kitchen's fucking, I've got to up my game now?
Yeah, I think it's not so much about the Michelin star, it's more about the chef that holds it, because I've ate at a lot of Michelin star restaurants that I don't think should be. Yeah. And I've ate at a lot of restaurants that I think should have a Michelin star, but I think it's about, you know, Luke's standards are so high that Simpsons will always retain a star because of Luke's standards, and that was something that was quite obvious from day one.
Which restaurants do you think should have a Michelin star?
I mean, I know it's going to sound a little bit biased, but maybe the Wilderness.
Lucky for you, we both wholeheartedly agree with that.
yeah. I think you know, I don't know what it's judged on, and I would never badmouth, you know, kind of the system that they work from, but there's definitely, you know, other restaurants like Chills, I think, should have a Michelin star. Matt's cooking.
I thought Chills did.
No,
doesn't. I thought Chills had a Michelin star.
No, it
definitely should.
It definitely deserves one, mate. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, and it's so good now that, you know, Birmingham is recognised, and Birmingham, you know, has as many Michelin stars as it does. Like with Otheme getting a star this year as well, which is great because Akhtar's an amazing chef. And he's got a good team behind him. Obviously, Neil's great as well. It's more than deserved, and I think this city will just keep going and going, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I still think there's a few more that should really get a look in. Like Harborne Kitchen, I thought was stunning. You went to Folium.
Folium's fantastic. Really impressed with Folium. Really nice. What do you think is about Birmingham compared? Because you look at Manchester and Liverpool. There's one in Manchester, none in Liverpool. What do you think it is about Birmingham that's just spurred this just amazing restaurant scene and just the amount of stars we have here now?
I think going back to what we talked about earlier, and it's the training. It's working under people that have really high standards and just trying to mimic what they do, really, without copying their style. Just trying to, you know, progress almost like a homegrown restaurant scene.
So could you put it all down to Simpsons Restaurant, really? Because literally everywhere that's got a star in Birmingham has passed through them doors at some point.
Everyone's kind of had some kind of affiliation with Simpsons, but I think as well it's a lot to do with not only just Simpsons, but Simpsons obviously is a great example, but finding yourself a mentor, someone that can kind of teach you what it's all about and kind of watch you on your journey and tell you when you're going wrong, which is something that, like I said, Simpsons does provide, but there's also a lot of restaurants out there that do the same as well.
Is there anything you added to the menu while you were there at Simpsons, or is it all just like, no, you don't add stuff, we had stuff?
No, I think, it was sometimes there was a very open feel about it, in which Luke would ask your kind of opinion on things. Obviously, Luke writes the menu, because, and it's something that I do as well, if for whatever reason then something goes wrong, there's no one else to blame.
Yeah.
You have to take responsibility for it, and if it's hanging over your head, it's more than right that you write the menu,
Yeah.
But there was definitely that creative freedom to be able to say, oh, I've seen this, what do you think of this idea? And then we would work on it together. It was just more than anything, it was almost hard to keep up with him because he's so creative, and he would just come in off the back of popping home and cooking dinner and be like, oh, I just cooked, I don't know, a lasagna for dinner. Why don't we try lasagna with, and he's just one of those chefs that he finds inspiration in everything.
Yeah.
He can find inspiration in the veg aisle in Sainsbury's,
So how long were you at Simpsons for?
So I was at Simpsons for 3 years, went from commie to I'd say like a junior sous level, and that just give me the grounding, that give me the kind of knowledge and just the kind of idea of where I wanted to be, where I felt my place was in the industry. And from there, I kind of spoke to Luke, and as any great mentors do, he wanted to push me on to the next level. We spoke about maybe going to a 2-star at the time, Champignon Sauvage, and because of things that happened outside of work. So during that time where I was kind of undecided what to do, my partner Tash actually said to me, oh, we're pregnant, by the way, we're going to have a little boy, in which Jack was on his way, so I couldn't go and work in a 2-Michelin star, which I really don't mind. Jack is worth much more than 2 Michelin stars.
Yeah. Is that just the hours you'd have to put in, or just it's the distance travelling to it?
It's the hours, it's the travelling, it's the money, it's everything. When you go and work in these restaurants, you're committed to almost like a single life. It's quite difficult to have a family and work in that level restaurant. But then what I had to do instead was the complete opposite and go and work in a place that I didn't really want to work, but it paid well, and it meant that we didn't need to worry about all the other things that you actually work for, like keeping a roof over your head, keeping food on the table, which is difficult when one of you isn't working, because obviously Tash had just had the little one.
So why not just stay at Simpsons? So
I could have stayed at Simpsons, but, I always felt guilty about kind of... It would have almost been like a guilty proposition to say, oh, you need to pay me more money because we're having a baby, But my position isn't changing, but I need more money than probably what the sous chef is on. So I had to go and work in a restaurant called 55 Wade Street in Lichfield. Well, I say I have to. No one put a gun to my head. But, I feel like afterwards they might have done. It was an eye-opening experience. It was, partly my own fault, but partly the guy who owned it, he wanted to replicate something similar in style to what Simpsons was, but had no idea how to do it, had no idea how much budget you would need for it. And then would come to me on a Saturday night and be like, you'll be all right on your own, wouldn't you? For 100 covers with like pre-theatre menu and an a la carte menu. Oh yeah, I'll be fine, mate. Don't worry. So that didn't last for very long. I'm starting to feel like this interview sounds like me just going down a really big slope. There is some good bits coming. Don't worry.
Yeah, it takes a turn.
Yeah, so that was kind of, obviously not a great moment again. Like every time I kind of, and I guess it is kind of being young, that I felt like I was making a good decision. Sometimes it wasn't. And sometimes as well, at the time I definitely thought, oh, why didn't people tell me not to do this? But then I look back on it and people did. But I did it because I was young and I was like, oh, I know better.
Did you at least learn from these kind of little blips and mistakes?
I think you learn from everything. I think you learn from, every part of cooking that you do. You learn something new, whether it be about yourself, whether it be about how to cook. how to run a restaurant. You learn about everything. And because, that wasn't working out, I then kind of spoke to actually a guy that was my college lecturer at Howzone College. And he's a investor in the Wilderness, part owner of the Wilderness. And he said to me, well, I did miss a slight bit of the story. He said to me, why don't you go and have a chat to Alex? But before this, I'd actually had a chat previously with Alex before, and I said, no, I'm going to, somewhere like Champignon Sauvage. I'm going to work at a 2-star. I don't want to come and work for you, blah, blah, blah. And I was probably a little bit...
Was it as abrupt as that?
Yeah. It definitely probably was a little bit ungrateful at the time.
Lucky enough, Alex is fairly thick-skinned.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. If you know Alex, he's got a skin like a rhino, I won't say he looks like one too, but if he's listening,
Oh, mate, he proper mugs you off in the chat with you.
Really?
I'm only messing.
We'll have to bring the mics out, rather fire in the booth. No, it's, I kind of declined his offer at the time, and I guess I was a little bit rude, and again, a little bit naive, young, and kind of had my intentions in my head. You don't really think about what if something changes. So then afterwards I kind of went to him with a little bit of angst and said, oh, I don't suppose you have a job, do you, by any chance? And he made me work for it a little bit, only a little bit. Like I won't tell you that he made me go through. No.
What was the offer like? Straight away head chef, was it?
No, so he kind of offered me, because the sous chef at the time was leaving to go travelling, and he said, you can come in as sous chef. But I'd already heard on the grapevine that Louisa was doing Masterchef at the time.
Yeah.
Louisa
was finalist, I think, 3 years ago.
Yeah, she was a finalist 2 years ago, and at the time she was junior sous. This was before it had aired, and like when I initially started, I think she was quite doubtful of me coming in above her because I'd spent some time in a restaurant that wasn't great because I'd have situation, whatever, and she got loads of ideas. She'd just done MasterChef, so she was still kind of reeling off the hype. We had a great situation and we had a good team in there, and it was difficult at times because it was actually based out of, I'm trying to put the best words for this, but it was based out of an autistic cafe the back of New Street when I joined the Wilderness initially. Just off Dudley Street. And during some services, when it was quite loud, the lady who worked in the other half of the building used to come in and scream to turn the music down. So it was definitely an unconventional restaurant, to say the least. But it was a great kind of learning curve for all of us, I think, because it was such a small space and we were trying to do something quite different. And for the first 3 months of me being there, it was solely Alex's food.
Yeah. What did you think in the first 3 months? Because obviously Alex quite unique. The restaurant was very unique. There's rock music playing. It's pretty far away from Simpsons.
Yeah, Alex is a lot. When I first joined, I thought, God, this guy's nuts. But you just learn how to take him, because he's quite. He is the extrovert, which I'm the opposite. I'll shy away from kind of having a garish conversation with somebody that I don't know, whereas he will quite happily, do the Cotton Eye Joe around 30 people that he's never met before.
So, but I mean, like food-wise as well, it was quite different to Simpsons as well, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, it was using some classical techniques, and just I think a lot of it was for the shock factor. I don't think he minds admitting that himself, that a lot of it was to draw people's interest, like using ants on a dish.
Yeah. And it worked. It got national press.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. Yeah, he's definitely a clever guy. There's no doubt about that. He's kind of marketing strategy and the way that he built the Wilderness up from what it initially started out as to what it is now is brilliant. And then kind of after around 3 months, we moved from Dudley Street to the Jewellery Quarter, in which I started to go to him with these ideas of like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and he saw that I had real intention for the restaurant and kind of said, oh, well, do you want to be the head chef? kind of sent me away, gave me some ideas of dishes that he liked the look of, like the Big Mac.
Yeah.
And then just developed those dishes over a space of probably about 6 weeks.
Did he give you your own kind of space, like to go in away and do that? He encouraged you to do that kind of thing, or?
Yeah, so I've had creative freedom over the menu for the last 2 years, which has been great because it's meant I've been able to not only develop a style for the restaurant but also for myself, and I've been able to cook my own food for the last 2 years. Of course, like the food that I cook at certain times does have a little bit of Alex's character in there as well because of, he wants this rock and roll restaurant, which everyone loves, which I love as well. But I think now more so my food is breaking away, not breaking away, but it's kind of, I'm going back to my roots. I'm kind of honing back into technique and I want to go down those lines.
So the wilderness menu is quite heavy on, like, there's a lot of Asian influence in there. And then quite a few of your dishes on Masterchef were quite Asian influenced as well. Would that be more you or more Alex? Like
all the dishes on the menu at the moment are mine.
Yeah, so like the cod satay and the Thai green curry.
Yeah, so they're kind of dishes that I've developed over the 2 years, and I think looking back now over even just 2 years, and that's it seems mad that it's only that amount of time because we've gone through probably about 60-70 dishes, which on a tasting menu style format is a lot.
Do you feel like it's just greatly improved over them 2 years as well?
For sure, it's definitely improved over the last 2 years because it was my first head chef role, my first time really finding my own feet, and I went to do a stage at a restaurant in Sheffield called Yoro, and Luke French, who's the owner, he was using a lot of like Japanese produce, even though I'm aware that there's a Japanese community, Chinese community, general Asian community, Indian community in Birmingham. I'd never really thought about doing that as my own style because I'd worked at restaurants that were classically, kind of French based or progressing towards kind of Nordic style cuisine. But I'd never thought about cooking the food of Birmingham. And that when I went there, that was almost like a turning point for me.
So Alex kind of says as well the same thing, that the food represents Birmingham, but you both sat around a table or something and said, yeah, this is very Birmingham-like, this is Birmingham-like, or...
No, I think it just happened naturally, to be honest. I think it was a case of that we both enjoy eating what we cook. Yeah, like we both have a mad love for takeaways, like to the point where, I'm hopefully, fingers crossed, getting a black card for the Meat Shack,
Oh, nice. Jealous.
Tell them about that month that you spent £200 in KFC.
Yeah, like, so I mean...
The manager phoned you, mean?
So there was a point earlier in my career where, you're not always at home to cook. This is my excuse. This is a feeble excuse. I'll just cut to the truth. So what happened was I went to the bank about a mortgage on a house, and he said, if you want to get a mortgage, you're going to have to sort your finances out. And I was like, well, there's nothing wrong with my finances. There's money in my account. There's a deposit. What's wrong with that? And he said, well, you're spending £200 a month on KFC for a start. So I was like, wow, oh God, that's bad.
That's not embarrassing, mate. If people think these, like, all you talented chefs are going home and cooking yourself something from scratch like that you'd eat in the restaurant, you're on drugs because they're not. You're going home, you have it, especially what time you've done a 12-hour, 13-hour shift, you're finishing at midnight or something, you're going straight to the drive-thru and you're like,
oh, too right, mate. I quite often, if it's late at night, I'll end up in Neelam's Kebab House in Bearwood. Doner kebab, fries, a bit chili mayo. That's the one after work.
You've got me thinking now. What's your best thing at KFC?
Oh, KFC. My go-to order, if I'm honest, is a stacked up Zinger burger with hot wings, corn, large Coke, and 2 flaming wraps.
Oh, man. I'm sold.
your order.
Yeah.
So I'm getting on the way home now, man. Definitely.
That's just on the lighter days. I mean, the heavier days is a bit more, but...
Would you say the Big Mac's better as a snack or as it is now?
Well, I mean, the thing about the Big Mac that we do at the Wilderness, it actually looks like the photo it started from. Whereas when you go to McDonald's, you look at the photo up on the big screen, and it comes out and it looks like a limp sock. It's.
Oh, sorry, I didn't really make. I meant as like the first. I went to Wilderness 2018, and it was like one mouthful.
Yeah.
And I went there a couple of weeks ago, obviously, and it was like a knife and fork jobby.
Yeah, of course, it's something that's progressed. It's almost like a staple on the menu. And Alex definitely, this was one of the dishes that initially Alex said, "I want you to go away and work on." Alex kind of said to me, "Oh, I like the flavours of a Big Mac. How can we make it into something else?" And that's kind of what we did. We brought.
How long did it take you to nail it? Because it is nailed. I mean, anyone who hasn't been and tasted the Big Mac, all of the flavours are there. It's stunning.
If I'm honest, I don't think it was. It's been a conscious one-off effort to get it where it is. It's been one of those dishes that it's progressed over time, like a few of them have. Only a few dishes of memory have stayed the way they began. But I think that's kind of leading back to our original discussion of sometimes people aren't naturally talented, they're just hardworking, and you just have to recognise if you can't get something right, you need to work at it and get it right.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. So obviously two great years at the Wilderness. And this weekend, I don't know when people are going to listen to this, but this is probably your last weekend at the Wilderness.
Yeah, so this is my kind of last little bit at the Wilderness, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of like man hugs between me and Alex, and maybe even a small tear on Saturday night.
Oh, the bromance is beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I meant more so for Alex with what I got in mind for him, but no, he's a great guy, and to have the opportunity that I've had, I can't thank him enough, really. But as for what's next, it's a project that's going to be in Birmingham, based in the Jewellery Quarter. That's kind of as much as I can kind of give away at the moment.
Yeah, that's something for people to look forward to. Keep an eye on you on social media and stuff. Make sure that they're watching.
I would like to say it's a cliffhanger. It's not. It's just that people are really slow at doing anything legal. So whereas like chefs will work 19 hours to get the job done, people in an office, as soon as it turns 5 o'clock, I'm going home. So when you're waiting for something to come back, it can make it quite difficult at times. But no, it's a kind of great thought, and it's something that I never really thought about, that we'd be able to even consider having our own business, because it's going to be run by me and my partner Tash.
Yeah.
Who's also, she spent longer working in restaurants than I have, and she's worked in more Michelin star restaurants than I have. So she comes with a great amount of experience. I
don't want to go too deep into the kind of unglamorous side of it, but like, did you have much experience with like costing the menu and stuff at Wilderness, and like, has that prepared you for owning your own business? And
yeah, I mean, every part of running a restaurant is unglamorous. I've seen some terrible sights. All you have to say to Alex is, "How's your 5Ps?" I won't go into any details, but if you see him out and about, just ask him, "How's your 5Ps?"
I've noted that. I've definitely noted that. So the kind of reason we're here today, well, not the only reason, but a very big reason, obviously, is MasterChef. How did that come about?
So it really was the case of kind of having our little lad Jack, and as I said, I'm getting better at these kind of setups where I have to talk about myself, and I guess I am kind of warming to the idea. But before doing MasterChef and like filming for that and everything, I've always been the kind of person that I'm not confident in what I do. I have to kind of reassure myself that I'm doing the right thing, and I have to look to other people for reassurance as well. I just thought this is a much bigger thing than I'm willing to do. I don't want to go on live TV. Sorry, not live TV. I don't want to go on national TV and mess it up and look like an absolute idiot. But then at the same time, I've got my little lad, and I'm going to say to him, like a typical dad does, "Oh, just go out there, just do it. Stop moaning, just get on with it." And how can I say that if I'm not willing to do it myself? So I thought, you know what, bite the bullet, sign up for it, see what happens.
So do they make you audition, or is it because of the level you're already at? Do they just say, yeah, right, you just start, this is the first show, come in,
No,
this is what we're going to do?
Of course they make you audition, because, I mean, if I've done, again, I'm doing quite well at this not swearing thing, but if...
Are you allowed to swear on ours? Don't worry about it.
I know, but I'm quite well trained now after the whole Masterchef scenario of not swearing and kind of bringing the question back into the answer. It's become almost difficult to have a normal conversation.
Yeah.
When someone asks you at the KFC window, oh, what would you like? And you say, well, I would like. It's definitely changed the way that I think about, conversations and stuff, and about what I'm saying, which actually is quite a good thing in terms of PR.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, so you kind of they get thousands of applicants. They then take that down to hundreds. They interview hundreds of people, and then from that they take 48 that they think will, be successful on the show. And luckily, I was one of the 48, because I think if I'd have got declined, I don't think I would have applied again.
Yeah. Exactly. Do you meet Marcus or anything before it all starts, or you literally turn up in the kitchen and he just rolls in?
So for anyone that has iPlayer on their TV, just go back to the first episode of when I come on the TV, and I cannot even get my apron on. That was how nerve-wracking it was. That was the first time meeting the judges, being in front of the cameras, everything.
What was the show really like? Because we've done an episode before with somebody who was on the normal MasterChef, and they were saying obviously it's only an hour-long episode, and there's so much more that goes into it. Was the bits and pieces that you don't see, or was there any... we hear mad stories of television runners or something messing with ovens, and there was none of that trying to make it into a TV program or anything.
No, I think, anyone that comes out with kind of sabotage stories are just trying to make an excuse for why it didn't go very well.
The winner would say that though, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I guess there's that. But no, it's a TV show at the end of the day. And yeah, I've got nothing bad to say about it. It was such a great experience, and if you want to kind of test yourself, that's the place to do it.
Was it hard to get? Did you get quite close to the other contestants in each round, and then to say goodbye to them? It must be quite tough.
Yeah, it's definitely it's almost like being at school and then your friends get put into a different class. That's almost what it's like, But luckily, because everyone was so nice, I didn't have a select group of people that I liked. I liked everyone.
Did you get any kind of were you told to prep? Did they give you any clues of what you'd be cooking with before, or any time to practice or anything there?
The schedule between filming can be quite tough, but you definitely, you know what you're putting yourself in for. So before you even apply, you should kind of brush up on your skills and be thinking of dishes that you want to be cooking, but then the rest of it, when it comes to the skills test and the invention tests.
How scary was the skills test? Because it looks terrifying. I think you had Monica's crepe souffle, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if someone would like to tell me what a crepe souffle is, as I still don't know.
I didn't have a clue. You done it though. You nailed it. You absolutely smashed it.
I don't know about that. I mean,
you were one of the best ones on it.
Yeah, I definitely just kind of winged that one,
Jeez.
It wasn't one of my proudest moments. But
definitely never heard of a crepe souffle until that point.
No, but I think that's the beauty of it. I think actually I'd have been a little bit annoyed if I'd have got a croque monsieur, because I think under the intense pressure that you're under, I would have probably still messed that up.
If Monica and Marcus were standing over me asking me to make beans and toast, I would be shitting myself.
Yeah. Oh, mate,
it's intense. Yeah. It just because it's intense watching it, and there's only the three of them. But then you got to think, for you, there was a film crew. There was a load of other people just staring at you, waiting for you to die in your ass.
Yeah. No, I think and as well, all the people there, they want you to do well. Everyone wants you to do well. Because that no one does anything to make you do anything differently to what you normally would. It's all on your own kind of skill set and all on your own abilities, really.
You're lucky, because if I was on that like set, I'd be going into the green room going, "You want to see this skills test? No chance, mate. You got no chance." Just trying to shit them up a bit.
Yeah, no, it's a really good kind of setup, and everyone's really friendly, and it's just a great place to kind of get an idea of what you're capable of.
I think it's quite funny in that first episode. You kind of, I don't mean any offence with this, because obviously we know you go on to win it, but you kind of scrape through that first episode.
Yeah,
I think if we asked you then, how far do you think you'll get? I don't know if you would have said, "Oh yeah, I've got a good chance here."
No, from day one, my mindset was just get through round one.
Yeah.
It was kind of like get through round one, and you can just about get by in the industry.
Would you be just happy with that? Was that what your aim was going into it, or was it? Are you quite competitive? Like, you don't strike me as competitive.
I guess I'm secretly competitive in a way, in my own way. I'm almost more competitive with myself than I am with other people. I want to just keep pushing myself. I don't really take too much interest in what other people are doing, but I'm definitely quite hard on myself and try and get things right. So that's why the first couple of rounds, the first round was quite hard for me. And it was definitely a confidence thing. Like, the first round was definitely because I was so unconfident in what I was doing, in kind of myself and my abilities, that when I got through that round, I almost had to give myself a short, sharp slap, like just get on with it and show them what you're actually made of. Stop trying to, be nice and just go for it.
Do you think that attitude helps though? Because you see a lot of the ones who come in and they're very cocky. And they're like, "Yeah, I'm the head chef. I'm 21. I'm head chef of a pub you've never heard of, and I'm here to win Masterchef The Pros." And then they go out the first round. Yeah. Whereas you were like the opposite of that. You were like,
I think
"I'm head chef of a top restaurant, but I'm very humble."
I think it's part of just who I am, really. It's not for TV. Anyone that knows me knows that I'm just me. I can't be anyone else. I'm not intelligent enough to be.
I think you're playing down things there. Like,
I've always kind of just said things as they are and just tried to be myself, and that's what I did with MasterChef, really.
Dishes like the faggots and stuff, is that stuff you've cooked variations of before? Is everything you come up with that's new, is that like a brand new dish? Do you get much time to come up with a dish, or do you do stuff that you've done in the past that you think, yeah, that's nice, I can work on this and try and do this?
Because of at the time of filming, I was also obviously running the wilderness, and I didn't take any time off because I felt guilty about not being there anyway. So in terms of practicing dishes and stuff, I had quite little time really to practice, which in some aspects did me quite well, because I didn't worry about it too much, because I was just worried about making sure the food went out right for the people that were paying me to cook for them at the time. As for like the faggots, I've never cooked a faggot before in my life. No, and I didn't even practice the recipe. I just went for it, mate.
Because this was the street food episode, and I was blown away. Like, looking at it, I was like, shit, that looks amazing.
I just kind of followed my gut, really. Just hope for the best.
Yeah, that was my favourite one of your dishes that you cooked, actually. Obviously, with the story behind it, and most of us probably, we're all brought up on that kind of thing. Like,
exactly.
What would you say was your favourite that you cooked?
My favourite out of the whole series was probably the suckling pig belly that's in the chef's table round. So there's chefs that have got 26 Michelin stars. I think that's right anyway. Kind of past 3 and I lose count. But a room full of, the best chefs in the country, basically.
So that's the final where you cooked the 3-course?
No, this was just one course. So you do one course each.
The big room.
Between 4 chefs. And I landed the main course, so no pressure. So I did suckling pig belly with langoustine, Thai green bisque, black pudding and yuzu. And so that was a big dish, big flavours. And if I'm honest, I just thought, what do chefs like to eat? And a big bit of pork belly with crackling on it, You know, chefs love that. That's what
Everyone loves that.
Yeah, of course.
I love that.
But chefs are harder to please the most. So if you can please them, you can please anyone, really. So it was just kind of doing something that I knew that they would enjoy. And when I got such good feedback afterwards, it just kind of blew me away, because these are the best chefs in the country. And a lot of them, I remember being at House Own College, looking on Staff Canteen and other kind of platforms, and looking at what they were doing and being like, oh my God, I don't even know how they do that, you know. And then to be in a room cooking for them, it was just unreal.
You didn't get, didn't become too much, or
No,
you weren't too nervous?
I think, you know, at certain times I come across as almost like emotionless, because I've got my own kind of coping mechanisms, and that's just to focus on what I'm doing and just get on with it.
What happens after? Because, you know, they all stand up and clap and tell you how much they like the dishes and stuff. Do you all get to go and hang out together, or just go and speak to them and just chill out for the afternoon, or they all just like fuck off straight away?
No, I wish if there was some like crazy story of going out to a bar or a strip club till like 6 in the morning and, you know, kind of, but no, there was none of that. It was, you know, there was definitely the offer there, but after work in the day that we just had, I was just more than happy to crash in the hotel with a pizza. Just getting the feedback from those people, it's honestly, it's life-changing. It definitely instills you with the confidence you need to go forwards.
Had you already met some of the top chefs that were there?
Yeah, well, Glyn was there. So obviously I worked for Glyn at the Asquith, like part-time whilst I was at college, just washing pots and pans. So I obviously knew of Glyn. Who doesn't know of Glyn?
Yeah.
And I'd actually ate at Moore Hall probably about 2 months before seeing Mark Birchall in that restaurant, in which obviously he's now got 2 stars, etc. And just a general great chef, like so inspiring.
So do you know which chefs are going to be there before you start cooking? Do they tell you the list, or do you just like walk into the room and like, oh fuck?
It's just really a case of walking into the room and going, oh fuck. Oh, so you're here. Okay, everyone's here. Brilliant.
So your salmon course in the final, tell us about that.
It kind of draws inspiration from just traditional smoked salmon, you know, of working in hotels and sneaking a bit of smoked salmon while nobody's looking. But the way that I did it in the competition was using obviously the Asian influence that I use in a lot of my cooking, which is inspired by Birmingham. And I wanted to showcase my style in all of those 3 dishes. So each kind of element did have an Asian flavour that I utilise pretty much every day. So it had like a tomato ponzu on the dish, so like a citrus soy sauce that had been flavoured with tomato and lime. The salmon had been cured in soy, mirin, dashi vinegar, you know, lots of big flavours.
Do you feel like the process of MasterChef has made you up your game even more than you were before you went into it?
Yeah, it's definitely kind of changed how I look at food. It's definitely changed kind of, I wouldn't say changed, it's definitely helped me develop my style, because, you know, having judges like Marcus and Monica who are brutally honest, you know, they will pick up on the smallest detail that I might have gone slightly adrift, and then started thinking about doing techniques that weren't necessarily flavour driven, whereas for MasterChef everything was about flavour. Even, you know, in the final I looked across at one point at Olivia's food and I thought, if that tastes as good as it looks, I'm in fucking trouble here, like, because it was just stunning. It's like, yeah.
I actually thought Olivia was going to win it. I did. No offence.
No.
Her food looked stunning.
Right, you got my coat.
Nice knowing you. Oh, it was good while it lasted. No, I thought it was incredible.
You know, her food is like artwork on a plate. You know, but I was just lucky that I packed so much flavour into the dishes that they couldn't taste anything else afterwards.
Did you always know what you were going to cook in the final, or
not until about 3 days before? No. It was definitely just kind of, let's do this. Let's kind of.
Did you get much practice? No, or I mean,
for the final, I practiced twice before. So once was an untimed run. It was just kind of practice and see where we're at with flavours and how the dishes come together. Tash come over, because I actually practiced it at the restaurant, and she said that's the best like one of the best plates of food I've ever had in my life when she tried the salmon. And I thought, like, no, she's got to be like, you know, just saying that to build my confidence kind of thing. And, you know, as anyone that knows me knows that I'm not big-headed in any kind of sense. And when I sat down and ate it, I was like, fuck, this is really good. I could be
That's
doing
on the
that,
menu
yeah.
now, isn't it? Well, it's the soy-cured salmon with the dehydrated skin.
Yeah, so the garnish has slightly changed just because of the season. But
Yeah.
that salmon was the OG, the Masterchef kind of dish. And then obviously the guinea fowl has taken a different form on the menu as well.
Yeah.
So I was definitely in that mindset when I came back when I came back from Masterchef into the wilderness of trying to get this food on the menu, evolve it, like the pork dish that I did in the semi-final. I had great feedback for it, but then I evolved it further within the restaurant, and it was such a strong dish, like to the point that we had to take it off because I thought, like, if we don't take this off, it's never coming off.
So how did you feel when you found out that you won? Did they tell you, they don't pre-warn you or nothing? Is it literally like it is on telly?
Yeah,
Just
it's an honest reaction, mate.
Yeah.
It's, you know, like, I think that's the most shocked I've ever looked in my life, because I really, really, really didn't think it was me, which, you know, you can really see in the episode, because when they announce who's won it, I actually glanced across at Olivia, getting ready to congratulate her based on what I'd seen, and they said Stu, and then I was like, who? Who's this guy? Oh, it's me. You know, like, and that was like, wow. And then I think obviously the funniest bit for me, the bit that you'll see when you watch it, it's when they say to me, oh, do you want to make a phone call? Do you want to ring Tash and tell her you've won? So I rang Tash and said, oh, guess who just won MasterChef? And she went, oh, that's nice. I was like, all right. You're going to congratulate me then? And she said, well, I would, but I'm in M&S. And that was it.
well, that brings you straight back down to earth, doesn't it?
So if anyone
Could have been worse. She could have said, well, I knew Olivia would win. I thought she was great.
No, I mean, if anyone wonders where the grounding comes from, there we go. Yeah.
Did you tell your son what did?
Oh yeah, Jack's been watching me the whole way through, and you know, he's to the point where he even says to people, "Daddy's on the telly, Daddy's on the telly," and they're like, got no idea what he's on about. They're just thinking he's making something up, you know, because obviously he's 2 years old and he's kind of, you know, talking a lot. He's experiencing new things, and when people say, "Oh, what does he mean, Daddy's on the telly?" and then I have to explain, and they're like, "So you're off the telly?" and I'm like, "Yeah." Like, for me, it doesn't feel like this amazing big thing. Of course, you know, I feel so proud to have won it. I feel like it's such a great experience, but at the same time, I think people think that I'm going to be a lot different to what I actually am in real life.
I don't think you're the kind of person that would get changed by the whole kind of TV thing. Like, I think you can. I think why so many people love you on the telly is why you just seem normal, like you seem like you're being yourself the whole time, which is really nice.
Like, you know, I mean, I said to you before we started recording, like, nothing's really changed for me. Like, yeah, I've been on the telly, but I still drive the same car, still live in the same place, still eat the same food, still spend £200 a month at KFC, you know.
Was it hard to keep it a secret? Obviously, because not live, so it was filmed a little while ago. So you've been working in the restaurant since, and you've been keeping it a secret.
Yeah, it's always difficult to keep secrets. I mean, this industry is renowned for gossiping.
Mate, I've never even realised until we started doing this podcast.
Myself included, you know, I love a good gossip.
What about your son, though? I was kind of thinking of your son, because I thought, like, if I was on telly back a few months ago and I told my daughter I was on and I'd won something, my daughter would be going to anyone that she'd ever met saying, my daddy's on the telly and he's won MasterChef.
Yeah. Well, luckily, because he's only 2, he can't put the 2 together yet. He just tells them one at a time. So, you know, it's kind of easily deniable. No, it's great just to have this kind of secret out there now, and just to be able to embrace it and get people's support and feedback, because it's really nice. It's so nice that, and it's something that I've been consciously trying to do, and I know it's only a small thing, and, you know, I'm not making a big deal of it, but if someone messages me on social media, I try and message back.
Yeah, straight away. I mean, that's why this podcast come about, because I think we put a post up and straight away you message to say thanks. I was like, that's nice.
Because the way I look at it is, people are taking their time to kind of support me. So I want to react back. I don't want to be one of those people that just kind of reads it and then that's it. Definitely been a few moments where I've had to block people that have messaged me.
You're joking, like bad negativity, like?
No, not negativity, just dick pics. Yeah, you know, I mean, I've somewhat found myself as a gay icon, which I never really thought about before entering MasterChef. But yeah, there's been a few people that have requested my Snapchat, which obviously I haven't given them. Not only because I don't have Snapchat, but also I've got a rough idea of their intentions. But also there's been a couple that have just come out of the blue, and I've kind of opened them in public places and then quickly tried to scramble them off my screen. You know, there was
MasterChef opens all kinds of doors.
Yeah, exactly. There was one where I thought it was actually a veg supplier because it looked like a Jerusalem artichoke. But
have you found it in the restaurant since it started coming on the telly? People obviously coming to have a little chat with Stu. How's that been?
Yeah, that's great. It's always great to talk to people and for people to be interested in what you do. I feel like that's great. It gives me a platform to show what I do and also, you know, talk about the things that are good about the industry, because too much time gets focused on what's bad about it. You know, everyone knows that you work long hours. It's just a given. Like, no one needs to hear about it. Like, you just got to focus on what's good about it and what's changing and what's important.
Yeah, it's good grounding to have. I probably should have mentioned at that point as well that the Wilderness Kitchen's all open plan, so you can see straight in. So
yeah, so
I bet you were gutted that it was all open plan when it started being on the telly.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a case of like, are they staring at me because I've got something on my face, or are they staring at me because they recognise me from MasterChef? You know, and I'm not that type of person to just start waving and then realise they're looking at someone behind me. Which is quite a funny story, actually. I was at IKEA the other week and I was getting some bits because we've just recently moved house, and this lady started, you know, intensely staring, which I thought she was looking at someone behind me. So then I started looking behind me and she said, "You're the guy off MasterChef." And then all of a sudden I was like, wow, that was one of the first ones to kind of recognise me. And then all of a sudden, 3 people off the back of that lady recognising me then came over, and each time I apologised for eating meatballs at IKEA.
What's the relationship like with the judges, like Monica and Marcus? Did you get to chat to them much afterwards, after the show, and have you still kept in contact since it's finished? Or?
Yeah, so I've actually got Marcus's phone number now, which is great.
Jesus.
Yeah, I think I've made it.
Made it.
No, but they're all very supportive. You know, Greg as well. Like he comes across as a great personality, and he is. You know, they're. Sorry.
Snapchat.
Yeah, that's just all the dick pics raining in. So they all come across as they are, really. They're really great people, and they're really supportive. They just want you to do well, and I can't stress that enough. Anyone that kind of wants to do it but is worried that they're going to get ripped to smithereens, they're not. They only say things because they want you to do better, you know. And there's definitely a case of almost like a mentor style relationship. And as you go through each round, they take more of an interest in you as a person.
Well, that's good, because sometimes you think on telly, I wonder if that's what they're really like, because they do come across really nice. You think, I wonder if that's what. So it's nice to hear that that's what they are like. What advice would you have for anyone looking to go on to MasterChef The Professionals?
Easy. Do it.
Just do it.
Believe in yourself. And, you know, if you want somewhere to kind of either to hone your style or to create a style, there's no better kind of situation that you can just be thrown in at the deep end and go for it. You know, if you want a platform, maybe you want to do something to challenge yourself, to go on to open your own restaurant like I have. You know, this would have never have happened without MasterChef, not because of the publicity of it, just because of the confidence issue.
It's got to be one of the best things ever to, well, I know you won't admit it because you're down to earth, but it's a massive achievement. Like, it's really huge. Like, massive congratulations. Like,
yeah,
man.
Thank you. You know, I guess it still hasn't sunk in, really. It's just just feels like another day. You know, if I don't know what it would take to make me really think of myself differently, and I don't think I ever will, which I think is probably what people like about me. But
Yeah, it's a good thing, that is.
yeah, I'll always just be who I am, and I'll bring up my son the same way.
I think like we've already touched on a few things you've got coming up. You've got supper club on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, so we've got a supper club at the amazing, and it's like, yeah, drop dead gorgeous like views over Cardiff Bay. Stunning hotel. Tom Sellers was actually there. I think it was during the summer, in which he kind of did like a pop-up restaurant by the sea. So they're just recently looking at bringing kind of chefs in to do events, and yeah, we saw Supper Club approach them to do one there, and fortunately they said yes, and then, you know, kind of I got tagged into it as well, and it's going
Is that sold out, is it, or is there still tickets? Can people still get tickets? Or
at the moment, as we're sitting here today, it's not, but it is picking up traction quite quickly.
So if you're fast, you might just get a ticket to that.
Yeah,
It's a good way to spend New Year's Eve.
Yeah, oh, what a way to spend New Year's Eve. I mean, don't quote me on this, but I think there's fireworks nearby, and it's just a stunning place to be. Like, the bedrooms are absolutely nuts, and they all face out onto the beach. Just an incredible place.
Yeah, it sounds stunning. Sounds really good. Obviously, you're facing off against another kind of local legend in January. Yeah, it's January. We're going to that. Yeah, I think that's sold out, though, isn't it? The boat with Liam Dillon.
Who?
Liam Dillon.
Who?
Hey, definitely got me there.
Yeah. No, it's going to be good fun. Liam's a really sound guy, and actually we've only just really started kind of having anything to do with each other, and that's only because of Alex and Liam having, you know, kind of a bit of a bromance.
Yeah, they have got a bit of a bromance.
Yeah,
it's a cool concept, though, isn't it? Because he's done a few against different chefs.
Yeah, so. It's a great concept. I mean, obviously, like, you know, it's always difficult to be in that competition style setup when you're sending the food from the same pass, and you're probably helping each other plates. Yeah. So, I mean, if he's listening, I'm not going to sabotage him, but I am going to be keeping a close eye on him.
You're there to win. This isn't a friendly match. This is a smashed Masterchef. That's the starter, and now he's going for the main now.
I mean, I'd like to say I'm 1-0, but as I said right at the beginning, you know, after losing that Halzone College competition, which I'm not bitter about, you know, I've got a lot to prove.
You kind of just jogged my memory there. There's something I want to ask you. Do you know, Steve, it was Steve, wasn't it? Phoned you up and said, "I hope you enjoy flipping burgers for the rest of your life."
Yeah, he texted me. Yeah, he didn't have the courtesy to phone me. He texted me.
What did he just say? Quick congratulations.
Oh no, as in like he texted me.
Oh, just at the time. Yeah, he texted you that. You haven't heard of him since?
No, never.
Well, you haven't rubbed it in his face and said, "See me on telly, boss."
No, I'm not that type of person. I mean,
I wish he was.
Yeah.
That'd be a great story.
I think at times, in hindsight, I've definitely had that moment of like, I should probably say this, but no. In reality,
you could have done it at any point when you were at Simpsons, when you're head chef for the Wilderness, when you won Masterchef. Any of them would have been a good opportunity.
I think, you know, everyone makes their own path at the end of the day, and like, I'm focused on mine and not too worried about other people's.
In fairness, what have you've won? Like, you know,
exactly.
You've done all right for yourself.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm trying to prove things. I just feel like I'm trying to, you know, build a nice life for my family, and that's what it's all about from now.
What's that cheesy saying? Winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something like that. Like, I've never had that kind of mentality to strive to win something like that. It was, like I said, it was more of a shock than anything.
Well, it's definitely there because you did.
No, it's reality, and anyone that wants to see the trophy, it'll be up in the restaurant when we open. But yeah, it's just.
And as you've already said, you're quite approachable on social. You're mainly on Insta and Twitter.
Yeah, so I'm on Insta as Stuart_Deeley. Twitter, I'm not sure. Let me have a look.
I'll put everything in the show notes anyway. I'll put all your links up there. Yeah, you're not on Facebook much. No one bothers with Facebook, do they?
I mean, like, Facebook's on mute because these dick pics are getting out of hand. Well, that's probably not the phrase to use, but you know, Facebook's definitely creating more interest with different types of audiences.
Yeah,
than,
it's the Wild
Insta.
West, and Facebook.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
Yeah, if you want to get, I'll put obviously the notes in the show notes. I'll put up all the links and that. So if
Yeah,
people
cool.
want to drop you a message, hopefully no pictures.
No.
Doesn't need any more pictures.
I just feel like now I'm going to get loads of
You're gonna get more now.
yeah. I'm going to get people using loads of random objects as penis photos instead. yeah. I mean, if anybody's interested, I do have a party trick which I can shave a moolie into the shape of a penis. That is one of my party tricks.
Did you learn this in Amsterdam by any chance?
No, as I only went to Amsterdam recently, and I spent most of the time in my own little world.
Yeah, we had.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a little thing at the end now where Carl questions everything. So he's just a quick fire set of questions, one word, just
Yeah.
banging out.
Yeah.
It's dead simple, nothing complicated. Just so people learn a little bit about you. Yeah, definitely not complicated. There's nothing to worry about. What's your favourite movie?
Clockwork Orange.
Oh, good answer. That's a good one, that is. No one said that so far. What's your favourite band?
The Darkness. Going old school.
Wow, that is old school.
Yeah.
What's your favourite spirit? I mean, specifically by not just like vodka. I mean, like to which bottle?
Oh, I thought you meant the kind that approaches you in bed late at night.
hoping someday somebody.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it.
Slimer.
Probably rum. Yeah.
With any particular rum?
Overproof, 69%. The stuff that,
Yeah, the good stuff.
it makes for a good night.
What's your favourite beer?
Estrella Dam.
Yeah, it's a
Or
good one.
Inedit Dam. Yeah, the one that was brewed by Ferran Adria.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So imagine best restaurant in the world, and then he starts brewing beer. It kind of knocks Carlin out of the water.
Yeah, just a little bit. I think we know the answer to this one because it's the same one I've wrote down. But favourite big fast food chain?
Oh yeah. Big fast food chain, KFC,
Favourite type of takeaway?
Chinese,
And what's your favourite dish to cook at home?
Nando's.
Yeah, but that's everything. Thanks very much for doing this, Stuart. Really, really appreciate it. You've been brilliant. And again, congratulations on MasterChef. We've all been rooting for you. The whole of Birmingham's been behind you, and we're really chuffed that you won.
Yeah, thank you very much. And just want to say I'm more than open to when we open, people coming over and seeing us and seeing what we're up to.
We're really looking forward to that. So obviously keep an eye on Stuart on social media to see when that's opening up.
These past kind of 6-7 weeks or however long it's been, there's a lot more expectations now. So, it has to be right.
Well, you didn't show any signs of pressure getting to you on the show, so I'm not expecting you to be under too much pressure now. So
Yeah, just wait. One day I'll combust.
Thanks very much, Stuart. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Well, that was incredible. Wow. What a story and what a guy. Massive thank you to Stu for coming onto the show. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you also to all of our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you. We couldn't do the show without you. What's the point? Without the listeners, there's no point in doing it. So thanks very much to all our listeners. Speaking of listeners, a massive welcome to all you new listeners. I'm very aware that obviously with the whole MasterChef thing happening just last night, that we've probably gained a few new listeners today. So massive welcome to all of you. If you enjoyed this episode, why not just click that little subscribe button there. Make sure you don't miss any of our future episodes, especially our next episode, which is out on Friday the 3rd of January. It's a really, really, really big episode for us. It's kind of, I don't want to sound cheesy but it's what we might describe as a kind of dream episode for us. I mean, we were asked quite early on into doing this podcast over a year ago. We were asked who our dreams guests would be when we were interviewed for a little local magazine, and Alex Claridge was on that list. He was definitely one of the people we really respected most and really wanted to interview. So we were over the moon when he contacted us looking to come on the podcast. So that's our next episode that comes out on Friday the 3rd of Jan. Obviously Alex Claridge, just an absolute legend. Obviously owner of The Wilderness, where Stu was head chef. I mean, if you've heard of any of our other episodes, you know that the Wilderness is probably one of mine and Carl's favourite restaurants, probably one of the best meals I've had this year. And there's some really, really big things happening in 2020 for that restaurant. I mean, in January, I think it's early January, I'm not sure if it's straight off the bat, but they're moving into the new restaurant, moving into the old Nocturnal Animals building down on Bennett's Hill. So that would be absolutely incredible. They've got some massive plans for that. Obviously, we talk about that on the episode. Alex gives us a nice little insight into what the new place is going to be like and what to expect, so have a little listen for that. He actually talks about this new Wilderness, he describes it as the Wilderness being the same restaurant but kind of a more mature version of the Wilderness, you know. And I believe our podcast that we've done with Alex is probably one of the most mature and honest interviews Alex has ever done. I think he'd freely admit that. I think he even sent a tweet saying that. I mean, it's just so honest and it's brilliant. Yes, so be sure to come back for that one in January. Until then, have a great Christmas, everyone, and we'll see you all in the new year. Thanks very much.